Act specifically provided that Congress must receive all nuclear agreement documents, including any related to agreements entered into or made between Iran and any other parties. So it's
Wow.
Ted Cruz introduced legislation last week calling for the clock to not start until all relevant side deals are made available to Congress, according to the Hill.
And that clock is that once the deal was delivered to Congress, they had 30 days to approve it or deny it.
That's
And so
correct.
he's trying to keep the clock from starting until they get everything, which makes perfect sense.
That's
I
right,
believe
including these side deals.
I believe that well, that's right. That's part of the everything. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that the Obama administration will delay and delay and delay and delay and will try to say, now you have to do it because we don't have time.
Right, your
Because
30 days is up.
that's a typical ploy of the Obama administration. You know, we just don't have time to do this the normal way, so we've got to rush this through. And I don't think that's going to happen with the Iran deal. Well, we're going to take a break here. We've gone past our normal break time. When we come back, is Biden in? Well, we'll talk about that and a lot more. Stay with us. You're listening to the DELOACH Approach only. Well, not only, but on WNLMradio.com and lots of other places.
Just let those run wild until before. If I were the Prince of Darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. If I were the Prince of Darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. What'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey.
Hey guys, it's Mike the Lionheart Ryan here. Did you know that the odds of your child growing up with autism are now 1 in 68? Please help support the fight against autism by going to talkforautism.com and donate today. All proceeds will go to the National Autism Association. Talk for Autism. Until every piece is found.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to the DELOACH Approach right here on WNLMradio.com. And remember, you can listen to us on Spreaker.com and on TuneIn.com and on Soundboard.com and on YouTube.com. You can go to all kinds of places and find us. We're live on Spreaker and on WNLM and on TuneIn Radio. And then on Spreaker, we also have our archive, and on SoundCloud, we have our archive as well. So you can listen to us during the week, and a lot of people have been doing that. If you do, please like our page, like the program, and we'll go from there. Well, last week we told you that there was a draft Joe Biden movement building quietly in Democratic circles, and I bet there was. It's become strong enough that rumor has it that he and his wife spent the last, actually almost 2 weeks secluded off the Carolina coast, considering whether he wants to make another run at the presidency or not. Well, the noises are getting louder. This week, Carl Bernstein had some interesting things to say about that. And Lisa's going to tell us what that is. What happened this last week that was so significant?
Well, one thing that I heard that Mr. Bernstein had to say was, he said, one thing that I keep hearing about Biden is that if he were to declare and say because age is such a problem for him, if he does, he could say, I want to be a one-term president. I want to serve for 4 years, unite Washington. I've dealt with Republicans in Congress all my life. I think there's a conversation going on to that effect among his aides and friends. It could light a fire to the current political environment.
It sure could. It really
yes,
could.
It could. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that it would be. I just don't think that it would be terribly successful. Now, I had this discussion with my dad. You know, my sweet dad. He wondered. He wonders if Obama's not making the moves to get Hillary out of the way and then install Joe Biden as the next president, and then have Joe be his puppet. And I said, well, that's possible, Dad, but on the other hand, Joe's been around since the Kennedys, and he knows Washington and has his own set of cronies.
Yeah,
I don't know that he's going to be that easily handled.
Here's the thing about Joe Biden, and don't swallow your tongue when I say this, but Joe Biden is a likable guy.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely is a likable guy.
Now, I will admit that Joe Biden as the nominee would be fun to watch because Joe shoots from the hip or from the lip or whatever you want to call it an awful lot. And he is no stranger to faux pas when he speaks.
That's right.
And there would be lots of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he does make a valid point. He has had a lot of experiences working across the aisle. Our current president has had zero experience doing that, and the last 6.5 years, I don't think he sharpened that.
No, he's chosen not to work across the aisle. His idea of compromise is you do it my way.
This last week, I heard on one of the news broadcasts, MSNBC or ABC, or it was one of the mainstream news broadcasts, and they pointed out that within the last 2 weeks was the first time since Obama has been president that John Boehner went on a trip with him on Air Force One. And boy, what a mistake. I'll tell you, if I were the president of the United States, and I'm not running for the job, nor will I run for the job, nor would anyone probably vote for me, except maybe Lisa and my kids. But I would tell you that what I would try to do is exactly what Ronald Reagan did. He tried to pull everybody together, and he and Tip O'Neill, who were vigorous political adversaries,
opponents,
met together on a regular basis and shared a drink together, and I think they were actually good friends.
Well, he said they were.
That's right. Both of them said they were.
That's right.
But Joe Biden is saying that he would try to unite Washington. Well, that would be a good thing. Actually, we need somebody to unite our nation.
Mm-hmm.
And Barack Obama said that that's what he was going to do. But
Oh, yes, he was a uniter, not a divider.
But that's not what's happened. He said on the night he was elected the first time that he was going to rule from the center. Well, that has certainly not been true. He must have forgot that the first morning he woke up, because that's not what happened. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens. What do you think the odds are? Do you think he's going to run?
I won't be surprised if he runs. On the other hand, I think he's tired. I think losing Bo was a real blow. I think Blow was his heir apparent, and I think had Bo lived, he would have been more likely to run. But on the other hand, Bo wanted him to run, and
I think he's going to run. I think he's going to run.
He may well do.
And I'll tell you why. I think that he sees that there's a chink in Hillary's armor, and I think, and the fact that Bo on his deathbed encouraged his dad to run, that would be something that would mean a lot to me.
Yes.
If one of my children on their deathbed begged me to do something, it would be hard for me to say no to that. And so, and Joe Biden, a lot of faults with Joe Biden, but Joe Biden's a family man.
Yes, he is.
And loves his family deeply, and has had lots of tragedy in his family.
Yes,
and
he
so,
has.
And so when his son said, Dad, I want you to run, I think that's going to carry a lot of weight. And I think he's going to run. I think he's going to come back from vacation refreshed and ready to go. Now, I could be wrong.
We'll see.
But see, the very fact that they're talking about Al Gore, the very fact that Joe Biden is being mentioned, shows that the Democrats know that their front runner is in trouble. And the very fact that Barry Sanders is ahead almost by double digits in New Hampshire shows that Hillary is in trouble.
Big trouble.
So I think he's probably going to do it. Now, there was some news from Sweden this last week.
There was news from Sweden.
Have you ever been to an IKEA store?
I have not, but I know lots of people who love IKEA.
Yeah, I went to my first IKEA store up in Kansas City this last year for the first time. My brother and I were on a road trip together, and he got to talking about he needed to stop at a store, and he said, I'm going to stop at IKEA. Don't you love that store? And I said, well, I've never been to one. And he said, oh, man, you got to go. And so we stopped and went through. And to be honest with you, I wasn't particularly overly impressed. For one thing, you have to go, you can't go into the store. It's not like a Walmart or a department store where you can walk in and go right to the section you want to go to and then walk out. You've kind of got to go through this winding, curving maze through the store. You start at the beginning and end up at the end, and there's no easy way to go straight to the department you want and then leave. You've got to go through the whole store, and I don't like that. But this story out of Sweden, this is scary. Tell us what happened.
Well, a Muslim asylum seeker in Sweden actually killed a woman and her son in IKEA's flagship store. He took knives from the store's knife display and stabbed them both. And one of the women the woman was also beheaded. It turns out that the Muslim man was set to be deported soon. And so what did IKEA do in response? Well, they didn't increase security.
Oh, well, see, that was the first thing I was going to say. Surely they increased security. Okay.
No, they didn't do that. And they didn't even allow guns inside their stores. IKEA is a gun-free zone, don't you know?